chilly down here this morning. It really is. Let's sort the camera out a bit. We're a bit skew-iff there. There we go. Okay, so who else have we got in the workshop? Let's just get logged in and see what's going on. Bom, bom, bom. Oh, incidentally, I did an internet speed check this morning. We'll take a quick look at that. We do have some good news. There's been some people in high-vis jackets digging up the village, and we've got fibre coming to the village very shortly. So, no doubt, we'll have the fibre in the workshop. We're going to trial it in the house first, because we normally have two connections, one in the house and one in the workshop, because they're a reasonable distance apart. And, sorting out Wi-Fi boosters and stuff doesn't really work. Not for us. So, it's always good to have two, right? Have a backup just in case. And then I could do the live stream from in the house if the one in the workshop failed, for example. Hey, Mr. Rawle. Good morning, Simon. I have your parcel. Yes, very, very happy. Thank you very much. We're going to take a look at that a bit later on. Now, just me and Simon. It's a private chat by the looks of it. So, Simon, how are you? You all good, mate? Roger Heaps, good morning, Andy and crew. Frosty cold here this week. At least we have power this weekend. Ooh, that sounds ominous. Eloise, my daughter, lives in Queenstown, just outside, a little place called Frankton. And she messages yesterday, I think it was last night or the night before it was, saying, the power's gone out. What the hell's going on? It's back on now, which is good, but she didn't know the reason why it had failed. She also mentioned that they'd had a light dusting of snow. Wow. Sheldon messaged me from Oamaru and said they've had sleet as well. So yes, the weather down there, Roger, sounds pretty nippy to me, to be honest, pretty damn chilly. Roger says, good morning, Andy and crew. What did that one? JJ, morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, JJ. Welcome back to the workshop, matey. It's pretty chilly up here. What is the temperature right now? Let's find out. Not in the workshop, because I'm sat on a heater at the moment, but we'll have a look and see what Mr. Google says. Weather Wakabaru. Jug. Internet. It's 4 degrees at the moment. It did get down to, I think, 1 last night. Obviously, I can't go back in time. But yeah, it's pretty cold, in all honesty. No frost yet, though. I've not seen any frost this morning. Okie dokie. So we've got a few parcels on the goods inwards table, as I like to call it. We'll go and have a look at those very shortly. Mark E. Found. Morning, Andy, from Dorset in the UK. Very wet. Well, it is dry here. So thanks for that, Mark. I'm pleased it's not raining as well, because it would be bitterly cold if it was raining as well. And we might actually get some sleet. It has been known, to be honest. It really has. So this last week, what's been going on? Well, the last couple of weeks, to be fair. What's been going on, Andy? Well, quite a bit, actually. So Ben was down. So the last weekend was the weekend that I took the Friday off as a day in lieu. So I had the Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, Monday was a bank holiday, and I also took the Tuesday off. So I had a 5-day off stint, which was awesome, to be honest. Ben was down. He came down on, I think it was Thursday night or Friday lunchtime. Friday lunchtime, I think it was. He changed his plans a bit. He came down, and we finished the retaining wall. It's done. It looks brilliant. We put some black plastic stuff we found down the back of it to help cut the moisture out. Not that I think it will, because that area is covered as well, but just, while we're there, why not? And we had it in stock. So stuck that down there. It looks fantastic. Am I going to take you outside and show you? I could do. However, as soon as the retaining wall was finished, the next challenge was to get the mighty fun bus, that's the Nissan Patrol GR, I call it, 4.2 diesel, straight 6, 5-speed manual, from under the house port, where it's been stored for the last few years, to under the new side port, so that me and Ben could remove the engine. Now, the engine's been really, really good during the time that I've had the vehicle. I believe it's the original engine. We filmed the engine extraction. It wasn't a how-to video, although there were quite a few close-ups once we got into the more technical stuff. Although taking an engine out isn't that hard. Although it was bloody heavy, but you'll see that on the video. There's a couple of problems with the engine. Now, they're not serious problems, but they're problems that need to be sorted out before it goes into Ben's petrol patrol. That's why we're doing it. We're doing a petrol to diesel conversion because it's costing him too much to run. Is his pickup truck. There's a water pump casting, or a casting which, yes, not water pump, it's just above the water pump. There's an aluminium casting which houses the thermostat on the top. It has vertical bolts and horizontal bolts holding it to various components and the cylinder head, I think, from memory. Yes, cylinder head. And unfortunately, a few years ago, when I was still using the vehicle, one of the horizontal bolts sheared. I was just replacing the thermostat, normal servicing, and the bolt snapped. And I was rather annoyed and had to do a bit of a hillbilly fix because the vehicle was my daily driver at the time. So I was able to tap down and rethread and put another bolt in, but the thread wasn't as far enough down. I was essentially threading into what was left of the bolt and probably some of the casting as well, the aluminium casting. So that casting is junk. Plus, taking out the horizontal bolts, chances are some of those are going to snap as well. So most likely we're going to have to just, grind away and cut away that casting completely, get down to the bolts, expose those and try and extract those and then fit a new casting. So that's a little bit technical and we've got to be a bit careful because we don't want to damage anything else. Also, when Ben was taking off the exhaust manifold, he found that one of the, in fact, number 6 cylinder, right by the firewall, bulkhead, sorry, was missing a stud, not a problem, we can soon sort of stud out, but also the other stud for number 6 exhaust was snapped. Now, it wasn't there, it had disappeared. I've never worked on it. The engines, other than servicing, has never been touched. So that was a bit of a red flag to us. It's like, is this the original engine? What's going on? But when we took the bonnet off, and you'll see this in the video, the masking that they put between the hinges and the bonnet was still originally, once the bolts out, the bonnet was still essentially glued on, and then we broke that seal. Now, you can't replace the engine on a Nissan Patrol without taking the bonnet off. There isn't enough clearance to get the engine out, and you can't take it out the bottom. So then I was thinking, well, maybe it is the original engine. It's never been changed while I've had it, and I've owned that vehicle now for nearly 20 years. So it would be pretty early on in its life if it had had a replacement engine. I don't think it has. I'm sure it's the original. I can find out. I can get the engine number when we get it all cleaned up, and I can contact Nissan New Zealand and say, hey, look, this is the chassis number, this is the engine number. Are they original? Do they match? Is that engine what was fitted in the factory? And it'd be good to know. So we got that done. That was quite a big job, actually. A lot of filming. We got nearly all of it done in the first day. We were a little bit late. It took us a while to get the vehicle under the side port because, it just didn't drive. The clutch master cylinder had failed. Although there's a bit of a surprise on the video. I'm not going to give you any spoilers. You'll have to watch it. But we got it there. We made a start. And then the next day, we really cracked on. We didn't quite get it out. And then the following morning, we thought, right, okay, this is it now. One more hour and it was out. We just needed a clear head and a bit of daylight, to be honest, to help with getting the engine out. So Ben's very happy. That stage is complete. And then as soon as we'd finished that, I then went straight onto the lathe and spent about 4 hours that afternoon on the lathe and then another 3 the following morning. So I was pretty damn knackered after those 5 days, to be fair. So it wasn't a holiday, it was a working time. But we achieved an awful lot. Okay. Roger Heaps, huge wins last weekend. Power lines down. Is that what it was? It was windy. Okay. Well, at least nobody took all the bolts out of the bottom of the power line and it fell over, right? Because that's what happened up north. Clever. Thanks, Roger. Mark, you found. Morning, Andy from the Dunno. Okay. The real Daz. Morning, Andy and crew. It's miserable and raining in Christchurch. Yeah, Christchurch isn't a great place when it's raining, is it, to be fair? It's usually quite cold down there as well this time of year. So not ideal. So apologies, Christchurch. Hopefully the weather picks up for you. Matty in England. If you insist in having winter in the summer, what do you expect? I know. I keep telling them. I mean, it's taking. I mean, I've been here now. What? 16 years, and I still haven't got over it. I like Christmas to be cold and snowy and all that kind of stuff. I like a real Christmas. And unfortunately, in New Zealand, when we have Christmas, we're all sat around the barbecue and drinking cider, which is nice, but we're all sweating our nuts off. It's red hot. And then it only gets hotter as we get towards February. We've had temperatures of about, I think the record temperature here for me that I've been in was 41 degrees. And that was in a little village called Puhoi, about an hour north of Auckland. It was absolutely roasting up there. Not good at all. I'm very fortunate when I'm at work, whether I'm driving or in the office, aircon is great. But, there's plenty of workshops out there that do get like ovens when you're working in them through the summer and like freezers during the winter time. Very, very cold. Don't know how the lads cope, to be honest. I mean, I used to do that kind of stuff. I used to fit clutches. I've fitted clutches to little Suzuki Jeeps lying in the snow because it had to be done. Would I want to do it now? Absolutely not. I've sort of got beyond that. Simon, I'm good, Mr. Young. The bike passed the MOT with a clean sheet for the second year. Excellent. Obviously, it had a quick check before it went. I've owned it for 2 years, and I'm drinking a free case of cider from Amazon. Free? How did you pull that one off? Or did it get delivered to the wrong house? Had a long list of advisories when I first got it. So you've worked your way through all the potential issues and got them sorted. Well done, Simon. It's a nice feeling when you've got the bike up to scratch, it's good to go, and keeping it in good fettle isn't too hard normally. It looks like a new one on board. Welcome to the workshop, sir. Piotr Platek. Hello, everyone! Exclamation mark. Well, yes, we're all here. There's 14 of us at the moment. You'll probably find that this Andy Mechanic live stream, and many of them, are quite exclusive. We don't get lots of people joining the group, but people pop in every now and again, and we have a group of regulars as well, which is really nice to have. And it's my way of just relaxing on a Sunday morning after a really busy week and having a chat with your mates. And you're most welcome, by all means. It's great to have new people come on board, and feel free to ask questions. And these are questions which maybe I can answer, or they may well be questions that others, the regulars in the group, could answer. Because we share our knowledge. That's what it's all about. Simon, well, here we go. Well, when one bottle got smashed, Amazon will refund the full case. So a case of 11 for free. Wow. Well done, Amazon. I like that. I bought Mrs. Mechanic some earrings the other day. They weren't from Amazon. They were from some online Chinesey kind of store. And one of them, they were in the smallest envelope you could possibly put in the post, I think. And unfortunately, one of them got damaged. So I emailed them and said, hey, look, it's been damaged. Can you send us another set? I'll give us a refund. Not diddly squat. Sorry, no offense to Mr. Clarkson, but diddly squat came back. No emails, no nothing. Emailed them again, still nothing. Zero comms. And I suppose you've just got to take a punt with some of these sites. They are pretty dubious at the best of times. They and it's a bit of a shame. I've managed to repair it now. It's all good. It's all fixed. But still, a bit of a shame, isn't it? disheartening is the word. They could have packed them a lot better. They were very badly packed. Okay, cigarette is almost done. We're going to head over to the goods inwards table and see what we've got. Now, just before we go, I'm going to show you the speed test of the internet in the workshop that I did this morning. And the reason for that is it's actually quite a lot better than it used to be. Here we go. So turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Okay, so if we do that, let's get rid of that. Don't want that. So there you go. So download speed. Now this for some people will look atrociously bad, but for where I live, it's actually quite good. Download was 21 megabytes per second, and the upload, which is the important thing for the live stream, and that's how we're streaming at the moment, was 7.28. And for anyone that's interested, anything below about 4 gets pretty damn dubious for your live stream. The quality starts to go. So hopefully today we're going to be all right. Okay, there we go. Look, back in time. Okay, to the goods inwards table. So what have we got? Well, obviously, as Simon well knows, we've got Simon's Parcels. So in here, I'm hoping there should be a new part for the lathe, and we'll head over there shortly because there's some other stuff I need to show you. So we'll dig into that a bit later on. But I went to go and see Jared at Forge in Auckland the other week, earlier this week, and he gave me a new torch. So we're going to pull that out of the bag and have a play around with that. And because Benjamin's here, Benjamin likes to use brake cleaner. I ran out of brake cleaner. I got very, very low actually. So we've now got 15 more high pressure cans of Forge brake cleaner. Thank you very much, Jared. Really, really appreciate that. And then in these little envelopes here, quite heavy, is a surprise. And this is for a project I'm working on. I've been waiting for these for 5 months. Yes, more on that shortly. Okay, so we'll grab one of these. We'll take this, put it back over on the bench. We'll do Simon's Parcel a bit later on, because, you know, highlight of the live stream. Now, if we go over here, I'm just checking the quality. Right. Look, me and Mrs. Mechanic got all the 450cc ATV primary sheave holders, final drillings and assembled yesterday. And the chap that did the laser cutting, because the handle's so small, he put all the lettering around the outside. Look, how cool is that? I am so happy. So there's 30 of these, 28, I think 28 or 29 are already sold. They've all got to get shipped out. There's some more 700 ROV ones to go out. That's these. I've got some more of those cut as well. Although, unfortunately, he did forget to put the writing on the handle, but that's all right. Not a problem. And we've got, obviously, some more 850cc ones to go out, which do have the writing on the handle, but have a slight typo on it because it's got a 859 and it should be 850. But hey, it's all good. Let's not worry about little details like that, because at the end of the day, they work. And these have been an absolute success. And so far, we've only supplied them to the authorized dealers for that particular brand. Stage 2 is then to get them out to all of the motorcycle shops here in New Zealand that service these models, which means lots more to come. But we're not going to rush into it. Mrs. Mechanic's going to be doing a lot of phone calls and emails and stuff and getting the orders because she's very good at that kind of stuff. Got a very nice, proper English voice as well. So I've got to prepare like a PDF sheet with photos and bits and pieces and prices and things for her, and then she can crack on with that. So very happy. What else have we got? Well, I came across a couple of lithium-ion batteries out of motorcycles. Now, these are starting to filter through a bit more now, and these are both junk. There's a battery tender one, which I've never seen a battery tender battery. I've seen plenty of battery chargers, but never a battery. And we've got this one, a Power Road. So I'm going to be doing a video of pulling those apart and having a look on the inside, which I always find quite interesting with lithium-ion batteries. We'll see what kind of, if they've got a BMS in there and whether there's a little temperature sensor and stuff, as there should be. We'll wait and see. Now, you may also say, Andy, what's that? What's going on? Well, there'll be another video, because this, for those that don't know, well, let's have a little look. Look, you see here, look. It is a Black & Decker. And it's not just any old tool. It is the Valve Master Refacer. Look at that. Absolutely. What a find. Now, I did have to pay for it, obviously. But I've had my eye on it for quite some time. And the gentleman that owned it was a little bit reluctant to sell it. But I did actually manage to get it in the end. To be honest, they haven't used it for many years. Does it look in usable condition? Well, it could do with a couple of belts on it, to be fair. They're getting a bit perished. You can see down there, look, quite perished. So hopefully I can find new belts for it. This stone for the valve refacing, where the seal is, on by the valve margin, looks fine. And it does have a coolant supply as well. There you are, look, you see. And unfortunately, this one here, this is to do the top of the valve stem, just to tidy up any kind of burrs and stuff. But if we turn it around a little bit, we have a problem. Look, the stone is broken. What a shame. So it's broken again down there, look, as well. It's quite badly cracked. So I've got to either try and find another stone for that. Not that you use it that often, but obviously I don't want to fire it up as it is because it'll explode. Or make something up, grind a normal stone down to give me the angle or whatever. But I don't know. I know Black & Decker, I think they got bought out by a foreign company, like many English companies do. Maybe I can get another stone for it. Probably can't. It's a very old tool. But what really drew me to the tool is the fact that you hardly ever see these anymore. And the fact that even these turny handles here, look, that one's sort of locked at the moment. They're actually in, they're complete. They're not broken. And they are quite substantial. It seems to be quite a well-made tool. So there you go, Simon. A valve grinding machine. How cool is that? Very happy. Right, what else have we got? We've got the battery out of my Patrol, which has been on charge. I've got to do a test on that. Pretty sure it's about junk, but I've done that. It's been on charge for a couple of days. And some other batteries that I've had to work on as well. So they're all on charge for testing. And we've got, this will be another video actually. I've got the window regulator. This isn't the one out of the Mazda. This is the one out of the Nissan Patrol that doesn't work. So we're going to pull that apart. So we're going to do a video on window regulators, the motors. There's this one and the one out of the Mazda. We're going to pull them apart in a video and take a look and see what caused each of them to fail. Just for interest's sake, more than anything else. A bit of a follow-up. And then lastly, my pillar drill, my main pillar drill over there, look. That one, which doesn't actually have a name. This one's called Priscilla, and we were using Priscilla yesterday, and she did a fantastic job. Very, very cool little pillar drill, that one. Benjamin managed to find me a new bearing. Look at that, in the box. I'm not going to take it out because, two-handed and all that to undo a bag. But so I've got some welding to do to build up the pulley, chuck it in the lathe, machine it down. Now, talking about the lathe, I said I did some machining the other day. Well, this is only some of the swarf. It's all over the place. There is so much of it. There was nearly a whole bin bag after that as well. I spent a lot of time machining on there. But we got them all done, which was really good. Got everything done, and they've all been shipped out. And hopefully, if you're watching, hopefully they'll pay the invoices soon because I'm a bit broke at the moment. Right, back to the bench. Okay, so fun and games. So a lot's been going on recently. So let's have a little look. First of all, we'll do the torch second. Now, I haven't forgotten your parcels, Simon. We'll get there. I'm just saving the best till last. So, 3 little parcels, quite heavy. Got the knife of doom. There we go. We'll undo that. And to camera, Andy, because it gets more viewers when you do it to camera. And I haven't opened these yet, so hopefully they're going to be the right ones. So here we go. Comes in basically like a little extendable drill bit box. And I don't want to drop them because they can be quite brittle. And I've waited a long time for these. Oh, there we go. So in here is a tungsten rod. 10 millimeters diameter, I'm hoping. It does look to be 10 millimeters. It is quite heavy, and that's the key to it. That's why I have to use these. Now I'm in the process. It's been quite a long project, to be fair, and it's been held up by these. Bit of a story behind it. We ordered them out of Australia, back in, oh God, early January, I think it was, that Jared ordered them for me. And a couple of months went by, and then they cancelled the order. Can't supply. Thanks, lads. So then Jared had to find me an alternative supplier, and I think in the end he got them off Amazon or somewhere like that, some one of these online stores. And they took a while to get them, and they were quite expensive. I think they worked out to be about $40-50 each, including shipping, which is normally pretty cheap with one of those kind of companies. So we've got 3 of these. Now the next problem is, well, what they're going to be used for is an insert into the shoes of a centrifugal clutch. Now this particular centrifugal clutch has 6 individual spring-loaded shoes that get thrown out against the drum as the engine RPM increases. And the process that I'm doing is called slugging. I know, bizarre, isn't it? Oh, quick coffee. Oh, it's cold. I came out early this morning to get set up, and I did my coffee then, so it's freezing cold now. Anyway, so what you have to do is you've got to drill out a set amount of the steel material from the shoe, and the shoes are made up by layers of steel plates spot welded together. So you can be very careful where you drill, because you don't want to take out any of the spot welds. And then you've got to use an end mill, because it needs to be a nice flat base to the hole. Again, 10 mil. And then you've got to insert a length of the tungsten. Now, the length of the tungsten and the depth of the hole are critical, because the end result is that I want to increase the weight of each of the shoes by about 6 grams. I've got 2 clutches to do. I'm going to do one at 6 and one at 8 if I can, if there's enough room in the metal to do that. Now, I was thinking about this earlier on, and well, actually, while I was driving around the South Island, and initially I was thinking, man, I've got to get this absolutely bang on, because that component, the centrifugal clutch, rotates at crankshaft speed, so it's balanced. And if it's not balanced, it's going to create a lot of vibration, and that causes damage to engines and things. So I was thinking, well, actually, the amount of tungsten that I put in, if it's a fraction more, which is what I'll aim for, isn't a problem, because then I can just lightly drill with a small drill bit the top plate to remove a little tiny bit of steel to bring the overall weight of the shoe down to what it was originally, plus the 6 grams. A bit like you do crankshafts. When you're balancing a crankshaft, they drill the web to balance the crankshaft. So that can be used as a method of fine tuning to get all 6 shoes exactly the same weight. And that's the critical point. It doesn't matter if it's, if they end up being 6.1 grams heavier or 5.9 grams heavier. As long as they're all the same, we should be good to go. Now, my next problem, so the only real problem that I've got now, and I've already done some test drillings, I've made a little jig to do it all, so I'm sort of good to go on that. But my next problem is how to cut the tungsten, because it's very, very hard and it's quite brittle. And up until now, Jared hasn't been able to find me a solution. My plan was chuck it in the lathe, use a diamond cutter and cut them to length. Diamond cutters are very expensive. Okay, I won't be paying for it, so it's not really a problem. But we haven't got that yet. The other option is to work out the length, and I've got on my piece of cardboard somewhere, I've got all the lengths that I believe. I've got to reweigh these to verify that it is true 100% tungsten. It might well not be, given where it's come from, which means it won't be quite as dense or as heavy as I'd originally planned, which means that the hole that I've got to drill in the shoe needs to be a bit deeper to remove a bit more steel, so there's more tungsten volume. Still a bit of work to do. So the other option, if I can't cut them myself, then I need to work out the length and then get them cut by an engineering company to the right length, and then I can insert them and go from there. So, bit of a story there. Andy is beavering away in the background. Will this be on a video? I am definitely going to film it. It won't be able to go out, though, until sometime in the future. This process of slugging is actually quite popular in the US, but it's really almost unheard of here in New Zealand. I haven't come up with the idea, I've just copied somebody else's, and hopefully it's going to work out just fine. It's going to solve a problem, and the problem being that we want the clutch to become fully locked at a much lower engine RPM. At the moment, it's about 4,000 RPM before the clutch fully locks, although that is dependent a little bit on the resistance to movement for the vehicle, i.e. if you're going up a hill, or you're towing a trailer, or it's fully loaded, then you'll need a bit more engine RPM, a bit higher, before the clutch fully locks, just like you would in a manual car if you're towing a trailer. The clutch, you need more pressure on the clutch to actually get it to fully lock. So there you go, a bit of a technical story this morning, and that's what's going on with us. Right, so we'll put that to one side very carefully, and that will go in the project box. Now, unbeknown to me, not yesterday, a couple of days ago, Jared says, hey, I've got a present for you. Would you like another torch? And I said, well, I've already got a torch. He says, oh, that's a pen torch, and it's really good. You've seen it, you use it before. The one with a little laser pointer. Absolutely brilliant. I've got one in the car as well, and I use it quite often, to be fair. But this is a head torch by Forge. There you go, look. And we had a play around with it the other day, so bear with me. I've not read the instructions, so I don't quite know what I'm doing yet, but I'm sure you'll see this in future videos. So to the camera, Andy, to the camera. So this is what it looks like. It's quite modern, and I've seen similar things on adverts on Facebook and that kind of thing, and it's an LED strip across the front, so there's no actual torch body anymore or a lens. It's just a strip. Now it's got a little side torch there, look, as well, to point, very good. So we'll turn it on. Oh, look at that. There you are. You can be glared for the morning. So look, it's totally flexible. You stick it on your head like that, look, and away you can see what you're doing, which is really cool. And then I think if you, hang on, just let me, look at that. You can turn it on and off with the wave of a hand. So you don't have to touch the torch and get grease all over your head to turn it off and on. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I've not worked out how to turn on the other torch yet. We'll try maybe a double tap. Yes. No. Yes. There. Yes. There you go. Look. Sorry, blinding you all. So I wonder if that goes off as well. Turn that on. No, it's just for the big one, I think. Yes. Is it good? There we are, look. Maybe. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm using it wrongly. But very cool. Very, very cool tool. And will get used, I am sure. So thank you again, Jared. I really appreciate that. It's as I'm getting older, torches are becoming more and more important. I need to be able to see what I'm doing. And that is really cool. I'm not too sure if it will integrate with the use of my cap, with my Tame Tools cap, but we'll give it a go. Okay, so that's the torch, done. Tungsten rod, done. Brake cleaner, done. What's left? Well, Simon's parcel. Let's go and get it. Now, Simon, very quickly, I just need you to check on the comments. Is this okay? I mean, I'm sure it will be, but I just want to double check. This is okay to open on camera, right? Because I haven't opened this yet at all. So just bear with me. How are we going to do this? Let's do it over here, look. We'll move that pulley out of the way. Okay, just bear with me, people. We'll get you set up, because I can't do this one-handed. There we go, look. Who's that? CJ Diesel Injection. We have the solution. Common rail specialists for plant, industry, automotive, and marine. cjdiesel.co.uk. Nice. It must be a reused box. Okay, Simon, I'm going in. We'll quick check the comments. Simon, it is. Thank you. Right, here we go. Hopefully I won't catch anything on the inside. Simon is probably one of the best people I've ever met at wrapping parcels. He is brilliant. Oh, it's had some damage, look. Look at that. They're pretty harsh with parcels these days, aren't they? When they're travelling a long distance. They're always going to encounter somebody that's happy to throw them around. Right, that's one side. Don't cut your fingers, Andy. You need your fingers for later on because you've got stuff to do. Okay, can you see? You can. Okay, we're going in. Ooh, bubble wrap. Very good for stress relief is bubble wrap. Right. Okay, we will lift that out. Bloody hell, it's heavy. So bear with me. Oh no, there we go. Right. Jeez, there's all sorts in here. Okay, so we have, holy moly, a cartridge type tool holder. Very good. And not new, by the way. This is a used one that Simon has sourced me from the homeland, which is nice. I can feel the Englishness in this tool and all the work that it's done over the years. Very well made, actually. Much more durable, bigger threads, much stronger than what I've been using up until now. And then, geez, here we go. Okay, we'll pop that over there. We have, right, okay, so we have the tool for tightening up all these, which is nice. Look at that, very good. And we've got the actual post holder. Dixon's quick change tool posts in Crawford Collets, in Whitney, a little place called Whitney in Oxon. And there's their phone number, and it's got the British flag on it. It matches my shirt. How cool is that? And again, we've got the tool will fit these as well, I'm sure. No, it doesn't. It's square drive, Andy. Okay, so that'd be 10mm spanner size. So this I now have to make fit my lathe, which will be a pleasure. And it's far more substantial than the one I've got, and far better made as well. The one I've got is only a Chinese one, and I broke it. I broke it not too long ago, which was rather disheartening for me, unfortunately. So thank you, Simon. I really, really appreciate that. You are a top bloke. You really are. We'll do a little close-up. It's always good to have the right kind of kit, isn't it? You know? And I do like engineering stuff. And I spend a lot of time on the lathe, and it's nice to have something which will actually, you know, I can be proud of, rather than using a piece of Chinese stuff, which isn't that well made. You know, good job. Really appreciate that, matey. Right. What else? Anything else in the parcel? Nothing else in the parcel. We're all good. That's it. I haven't missed anything. Tell me if I have, Simon. Okay, back to the bench. Turn you round. Boom. It's a bit... Oh, hang on. I forgot my tripod. Oh, God. Andy's terrible. Right, just bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm going to get this sorted out. It's all over the place. I think that will work. Oh, okay. Now, we've done all this stuff, and I'm really grateful for Simon sending that through. So again, Simon, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. We've done the torch. We've done the tungsten rod. We've even done the brake cleaner. We've discussed things about centrifugal clutches and how to slug them and stuff. But there's one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, which is, and I didn't put it in the title of the live stream, and 21 people are going to hear about this right now. Next week is a very, very special week for me and Mrs. Mechanic. It will be our 30th anniversary. I know. Andy, how is that even possible? You don't look old enough. Well, we started very young, to be fair. I've known Mrs. Mechanic for 35 years. I know, it's a long time, isn't it? Some might say a sentence. I wouldn't say that at all. But 35 years we've been together. And, you know, I'm not the easiest person to get on with. I spend a lot of time in my workshop, and with my job now, I'm away from home an awful lot as well. So she is absolutely a trooper. She really is. You know she is. You've seen her riding a monkey bike across New Zealand, for God's sake. She does all sorts of stuff. But yeah, 30 years, pretty cool. And it just so happens that I am at home all next week doing admin work. So it's very nice to actually be at home for our wedding anniversary, which hasn't happened a few times in the past. So a few brownie points for that, Andy. But to be fair, I have to be honest about this, and Mrs. Mechanic knows, it was pure luck because Andy regularly forgets his wedding anniversary. Yes, I know. I am an atrocious husband. I really am. I'm terrible. I'm always so focused on other stuff. This is the problem. So there you go. That is my big announcement for this week of this live stream, and I'm sure there'll be many more. But yes, it's hard for me to comprehend that I've reached a 30-year wedding anniversary. Where did the time go? It's quite incredible. Right, back to the comments because there are many of them. Here we go. Go back. Keep going. There we go. Right, so the smash bottle, that's where we got to. Roger Heaps, we have double DIN touchscreen head unit coming for $65. We'll let you know how that goes. Cool. That's awesome. Platek. In Poland, we have evening now. Would like to ask about percentage of motor events. What do you think? Hot or not? Percentage on motor events. What do you actually mean? Can you explain a bit more? Do you mean how many sort of motor events we have in New Zealand? If you are, then there's lots of motocross races. There's quite a few sort of enduro events around. There's even, side-by-side races, off-road racing, 1,000-kilometer races up in Woodhill. There's some pretty cool stuff around New Zealand. There really is. I never get a chance to go and watch any of it. Very rarely. And I'm just seeing how rusty my pillar drill is. We've had a lot of really damp air recently, and it's caused a lot of rust on some of the stuff. I had to give Priscilla a bit of a clean up yesterday, so I'll have to give my pillar drill a bit of love today as well. I think in the next life, I would actually like to compete in some of that kind of stuff, especially the 4-wheel driving stuff, because I'm quite good. I'm actually quite good at driving off road, and speed doesn't scare me too much as long as it's me driving. I remember years and years ago when I was doing the conversion to my Suzuki Jeep. George the second. So George the first it was a standard vehicle, and he got rolled into somebody's front garden when I was at college. That was me trying to do a Scandinavian flick on dry tarmac in a Suzuki Jeep. Doesn't work at all, does it? Anyway, you live and learn. And so I fitted a Suzuki Swift GTI Mark 1 16-valve performance engine into that Jeep. And we made up a completely bespoke wiring harness and everything, and it was a fantastic vehicle. It really was. It went very, very well for a Suzuki. In fact, it went too well. But during the planning stage of that project, I managed to meet up with a lad called Toby Jefferson. Toby, if you're still around, which I hope you are. He was a little bit older than me, I think, from memory, because I was only at college at the time. He'd done the same. He built a comp safari vehicle, basically based on a little Suzuki Jeep, and he'd used the same engine, and it went like stink. Because we were talking about it, and he says, "Well, do you want to see how well it goes?" And I said, "Oh, yes, please." So I jumped in, crash helmets on, and he fired it up. And his workshop was up on a hill, and there was a track basically going down the hill, and he just launched it. We had it in 4-wheel drive, high box, and he launched it out of his workshop. down this track. We were getting up to what felt like a tremendous speed. And then he put the vehicle sideways. At that kind of speed, I'd never really encountered it. It was a bit like being in a rally car. And then he went through this gateway, and this is, this is in Yorkshire, this is stone walls. He managed to post the vehicle sideways through the gateway and into a field at full tilt. And I was just blown away at the skill set this lad had. It was absolutely incredible. And the vehicle went like stink. And that gave me the motivation to see the project through. And, George II was an amazing machine off-road. You didn't have to do a lot of gear changes. It would just rev to 10,000 RPM, and you could push it hard. And it was a good machine for recoveries, but it was also really good for like rock crawling as well, because it was fuel injected. The ECU monitored engine RPM, and if it felt the engine was going to stall, it automatically brought the revs up a little bit. It was pretty cool, actually. It wasn't as good at rock crawling as the diesel engine that I put in, which was the third project. That was George III, because whatever reason we decided to pull the GTI out, and I fitted a Nissan CD17 from a Nissan Sunny. So four-cylinder non-turbo engine, and that was unbelievably good for rock crawling, because again it would just burble along at idle, and you could just blip the throttle, you had loads of torque. The only downside with George III with the diesel engine is it used to tear the clutches, because we were running the Suzuki Jeep 1.3 clutch, and it wasn't up to the task. It would destroy clutches pretty quick, so I got very quick at fitting clutches on that one. Yeah, like a clutch could last you a week if you're not careful. And it wouldn't shred the friction plate. It would destroy the springs, the damper springs in the center of the friction plate. Good bit of kit there. I enjoyed building that. That was quite a cool project. When do we get to Jim K? Hello! Good morning, Jim. And welcome back to the workshop. And thank you very much for your time the other day. We had a very good, long telephone conversation about all sorts of stuff, and it was really, really good. So thank you, Jim. Do appreciate it. And for all the help that you've given me again recently. Jim does help me an awful lot in my role, and makes my life just that little bit easier. So I do appreciate it, Jim. I really do. Simon, that is a valve grinder. It is. From what I've seen, lipo bike batteries need a different reg with a better charge rate. Now you see, actually, I can contra that a little bit. Or contra is the wrong word. Put some other information into the mix. A particular brand of motorcycle on the motocross bikes, again, I won't say the model, but you'll know what I'm talking about. Many of those now have lithium-ion batteries, because they're all electric start, right? The 4 strokes. And also the enduro version, which I have 2 here. I have one, Ben has one. We have the older versions, which have the normal batteries. But recently, they've also fitted lithium ions to the enduro model. And the set point voltage for charging on those, according to the manual, is only 13.5, not 14.5, like on a normal bike, which is a bit weird. But it is what it is. That's what the manufacturers decided to do. And now we have very, very few problems with them. Early on, the first generation with the lithium-ion batteries, the batteries themselves were the problem, and I had to replace a lot of them. But now, pretty rare. They seem to have finally got it sorted out. So that's interesting, that. And you can, on that particular brand, and many customers do, they remove the lithium-ion battery and they fit a normal gel battery, a lead-acid battery to the bike. And you don't have to change anything else on the bike, so I'm told. Although, from what you say, Simon, it might be better to change the reg rectifier unit as well and get the set point voltage to 14.5. It would certainly charge better, wouldn't it? So thanks for that, Simon. Vijayant, good evening, Andy and crew. How is everybody doing? Doing all right. I've got a little bit of a cold at the moment. That could be just because it's cold and I've got a runny nose. But, just a bit knackered. I'm looking forward to next week's admin. because then I can just, I tend to find just a bit of brain work isn't too hard. I think all that work we did when Ben was down, those 5 day stint, straight after the South Island run as well, and I've been down to Wellington as well to do some visits down there the week after. It was quite a big push for me, was all that, and I'm not getting any younger, and I worked most weekend days as well while I was in the South Island, so I didn't get a lot of time off, but I caught up with some days in lieu, which was good. So, Aeronet. Hey Andy, hope you're well. Cold here in Melbourne also. Well, I'm going to Sydney very soon. I have to drive up to Auckland next Sunday. So there won't be a live stream next Sunday, obviously, because we do it every other week normally. I'll be staying in Auckland Sunday night, and I have to check in at the airport just before 6 a.m., which is a ludicrous time for me to go to the airport. There was no possible way of leaving home on the Monday morning, because I'd have had to leave home about 2 a.m., which is just not going to happen. So I've arranged some accommodation up there at the airport, so I can just basically, on autopilot, so to speak, fall out of bed, grab my gear, and get into the check-in area. It is a stupidly early flight, and you've got to be there 3 hours before your flight and stuff, which is just terrible. Anyway, so I'm going to Sydney, and I'll be in Sydney. We're arriving Sydney Monday afternoon, and I'll be there till Friday morning, fly back Friday. And again, the flight doesn't get in till gone 11 p.m. on the Friday, New Zealand time, so I'll be staying in Auckland on the Friday night, all that's organised, and driving home on the Saturday morning. So, yeah, it's taken up another couple of weekend days, which is a bit of a shame, or at least 2 half days, but, another day in lieu will fix that, right? But yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be really good. It's for a big competition that's run covering New Zealand and Australia for technicians, where they have to pass certain criteria to be allowed to enter. And the winner of that event, which there's a whole day where they're doing tests and tasks that they get scored on, and then we have a bit of a jolly day. We take that out for the day and we go and do, I don't know, clay pigeon shooting or go down a mine, or there's all sorts of things that they have planned. Unfortunately, this competition was put on hold because of COVID, and this is the first one post-COVID, so it's really good to get it back up and running, and I think it's going to be a bit more glitzy and a bit more than it normally is, because we're celebrating it being run again, which is really cool. I've also got some meetings there as well with the other service reps that do my job in Australia. Great team over there. I get on with them very well. Although I don't see them very often, so it's nice to catch up. We email now and again, but we don't see each other face to face because they're in a different country, and I'm not keen on flying, so there's no reason for me to go there unless I have to. So yeah, it's usually a pretty intense week, pretty full on, because you're doing stuff during the day and you're doing stuff on an evening as well. You don't get any evenings off, and then it all starts again the following morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. You've got to be on site, so it's going to be another tiring week, but that's part of the job, Andy, and you just get on with it. And it's great to be part of that. There's a lot of respect that goes on within the team, and it's great to see these technicians and what they can do, and their method of diagnostics and just their knowledge base. It's really good to see that in industry and to see them perform so well, and to want to be recognised for it as well, and to participate in the competition. I've got 2 technicians from New Zealand going over this time. First time for me. In the past, it's only ever been 1. I've got 2, and the winner of the competition then goes to Japan for the global competition. And the winner of that, well, that's very high recognition indeed. Extremely high honour to hold that crown. So it's good to be part of it. And if one of the New Zealand lads does win, and I really hope one of them does, then I get to go to Japan as well. Never been to Japan. That would be fantastic. It'd be really, really cool. Where do we get to? Simon, lathe and a slitting discs on a grinder strapped to your cross slide. Yeah, that could work. It could work. Give it a go. Roger, just scroll down for a second. It's getting cold in here, or I'm getting cold. Roger Heaps, weaker springs won't do the same job for the clutch. No, I don't believe they will. Although the springs are quite strong, the role of the if you imagine the shoes, and I've not weighed the shoes currently, but they're quite heavy. The centripetal force that's generated on that shoe is absolutely monstrous. You know, you think that engine revs to, let's say, 7,000 RPM, right? That's fast. Now, the amount of force at this point in time, let's say 4,000 RPM, the amount of force required to lock the clutch obviously is significant. The shoes, because of their weight and the rotational speed of the crankshaft, apply a tremendous amount of force to the drum. And in all honesty, the strength of the spring is almost insignificant when it comes to when you put it into the equation of the amount of force that's been applied or generated by the shoe. The springs really are only there to ensure that the shoes are fully retracted. They might start to stick a little bit on the pivots, that kind of thing. I don't think they're going to have really any significant change in the rev point of maybe the initial contact of the shoes slightly, because the revs are quite low. But I don't think they'll have any effect whatsoever on the actual point where the clutch actually achieves lock against the drum, and they're both traveling at the same rotational speed. I don't think the springs in this particular case will make much difference. It's all about the weight, because if you increase the weight, even only by 6 grams, at such a high RPM, thousands of RPM, the force that shoe applies to the drum is greatly increased. Imagine, a motorcycle wheel which doesn't rotate at 4,000 RPM. You've got a wheel weight falls off, and that could be the equivalent of a bag of sugar at 100 kilometers an hour. It really affects the stability of the bike. And you can feel it through the handlebars. So, and that's what 10 gram weight, 15 gram weight that's gone missing off the wheel, and that's a much lower RPM. So, no, I don't think in this case the springs are going to make much difference. I have considered that, but the way forward, I believe, is to increase the weight of the shoes. But a very good point, Roger. Thank you for that. Simon. I've not posted you a dildo. Well, thank you very much, Simon. I do appreciate that. That probably wouldn't have gone down too well. And to be fair, okay, broad-minded. Maybe you thought I needed one. I don't know. Inside joke, maybe. But, you're all good. I appreciate the comment, as always. Especially from an administrator as well. Thank you for that. John Nuttall. Okay. Someone has to say, if you cannot take on more, i.e. the battery disassembly, the go-kart frame needs to be done. I was talking to Jared only the other day when I went to go and see him, and we had a bit of a joke about the go-kart. It does need to be done. You're right. Oh, actually, a project that Ben finished for me, which hasn't been filmed, was remember that lawnmower shroud? The deck was all rusty and cracked in bits and pieces. Well, I asked Ben, I says, look, if we're doing the patrol and we're taking the engine out, then could you do that for me? So he took it in his workshop, cleaned it all up, welded it all up. Mrs. Mechanic painted it, and now it's ready for Attle, one of our neighbours, to pick it up. It's done. So thank you very much, Ben, for doing that. That's one job done. Will Ben do the go-kart? No, he won't be able to do the go-kart. He might help me do the go-kart, but he won't be able to do it on his own. it requires a bit of handiwork on that, to be fair. But that's okay. That's all right. Where do we get to? So thank you, John. Yes, the go-kart does need to be done. Don't forget, I've there's a bit more time this year. I know the kids are getting bigger. We might need to extend the chassis a little bit, make it a bit more leg room. Who knows? I'd like to have it off my bench, to be honest. It is an inconvenience. It takes up quite a chunk of my bench, and there's nowhere else for it to go. Although I do keep thinking, where are the wheels? Because some of the parts have sort of scattered around the workshop and into other various storage areas. I found some bits in the back of the Patrol the other day. So that'll be the next job. Well, once we've done the frame, is to find all the bits to rebuild it. Simon, 30 years, well done, Emma. Very well done, Emma. Honestly, she's a trooper. Jim Haynes, finally here, and I did hit the like button, which is required, people. Thank you very much, Jim. Roger, how did the riverbed run go? Well, all I can say is we'd have been far better off in a submarine or a boat. I did some field research down near Timaru a few weeks ago when I was in the South Island. I do that kind of stuff quite a bit. It was really to understand more on the recreational activity of riverbed driving. Now, something that I've never done. In fact, that's a lie, actually. Years and years ago, I was out with a friend of mine, I think it was Jamie from college, and we did drive up a river. It was middle of summer, it was more of a stream, but you could tell that when it was in flood, it was much bigger. And it was quite rocky. And we went up in the little Suzuki Jeep, probably George I, went up, I don't know, 100 meters or so, and the rocks just got too big, and we just turned around and came back out. So, yes, I have driven up a river, and I've driven many tracks that have turned into rivers because of the rainfall, but never really taken up this kind of recreation. Thinking that I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest. But certainly in the South Island, there's a few rivers here in the North Island as well, which are really, really wide, flat plain stuff. But the ground it's just rocks. There's no mud. All that's been washed away. And in the summertime, people jump in their ROV in those areas, and that's fair game. They just drive up the river as far as they can, and they cross the streams every now and again. And some of the water crossings, there's the main channel, which is deepest, and then there's sort of little channels around as well that are much shallower. And where the river spreads right out, of course, the depth of the water is a lot less. Well, it was raining, and it had been raining for about a whole 24 hours. So there was a bit of water coming down, and it was still raining at the time. And the gentleman, very nice chap, very helpful, really grateful he took me out for the day to show me his recreation, and that was the main reason for the trip. And we went down this track to where you can get your access point to the river. And I looked at the river, and this was one of the main channels. It wasn't a tributary thing. It was the main river channel at the time. And I've crossed lots of rivers over the years in four-wheel drive, so I've got a rough idea, or a pretty good idea actually, of how to read the water and get an idea of how deep the water is by looking at the way it reacts. And I looked at it and thought, that's deep. That is deep. And at that point, I took my seatbelt off, because I thought, well, if we're going to go in there and the vehicle rolls over on its side, I need to be able to get out as quickly as possible. And the vehicle had a windscreen as well, so it's limited ability to get out. So I looked at the driver and I said, that's a little bit deep, isn't it? He went, yes, that's a bit too deep, I think. So I thought, phew, okay, we'll dodge that bullet. So we went back up the track, went further downstream to a point where the river splits into two. So there's less volume. There's more river sections, more crossings. So the amount of water is spread across more crossings, and therefore it's not quite as deep. But again, we pulled down. I'm like, that's actually still quite deep. But hey, we were going to go through, right? So in he goes. And obviously he's done this a lot over the years. He was quite competent at doing it. But as we went into the water, sure enough, I mean, I had the GoPro on, so there is some footage of this. As we went into the water, sure enough, the water came right over the bonnet. and sort of lapped against the base of the windscreen. So the whole front of the vehicle for a couple of seconds was fully submerged. He wasn't hanging around, but he wasn't going really slow either. He knew he didn't have very long in there before problems would happen. And just to let you know, the air intake for this particular vehicle is just under the bonnet. So the air pocket underneath the bonnet wasn't going to stay there for very long. It would soon fill up with water. But sure enough, we made it through the deepest bit, and then we started to climb out the other side and get ourselves onto the next sort of bank, so to speak, or what would you call it? Berm kind of thing of gravel and rocks. And we proceeded for the next half an hour, 45 minutes to make our way downstream towards the coast, crossing, numerous streams and bits of river and various channels and stuff, and didn't really have too many problems. There was no point where we risked getting stuck, where we had to reverse back. The vehicle was very capable of doing that particular job. And we got to a point where, I was getting cold and it was pretty miserable, and I'd seen what I needed to see. I'd gathered the evidence that I needed to gather. So I said, hey, I've seen enough. We can go back now if you want. And I think he was quite ready for going back as well. So we made our way back. And again, no problems. We did cross the river to get out at a slightly different point, which wasn't quite as deep. So I'm pretty sure actually that he didn't intend to go as deep as through such deep water as what we did initially. But it was good. It was a good day out, but pretty damn cold and wet by the end of it. I even got my feet wet because the water. I did put my feet up, but a lot of water came inside the vehicle as well. So yes, it was an interesting day, Roger. Thank you for that. Simon, the kids can now have that 350 YPVS engine in it now. Probably could by the time we get it finished, although I'll need to beef it up somewhat. I think it will need a full roll cage as opposed to just the pushy in bars that go in it at the moment. Who knows? John, it won't get done this year, as don't forget you have a wedding to go to. I know, October, right? I leave back end of September and get back home back end of October. All going to plan. I mean, hey, it's a wedding, right? Things can change. So obviously if they do, I'll let you know. Right, Wade Mayer, howdy Andy and crew, just listening in while I mow out on the farm. Nice. Good man. It's always good to get some work done and have me in the background, so enjoy your tractoring. Simon was talking to an apprentice in his first year this morning. He was asked about bikes, mentioned carbs. He says, what's a carb? Are we getting that old? Yes, Simon, I think we are getting that old. When I was at Unitec, carburetors were, in the last year that I taught, removed from the curriculum. And I was like, what? This is ludicrous. Students need to learn about carburetors. There's still plenty of things out there that have got carburetors, all these little small engine stuff, your strimmers and your chainsaws and your lawnmowers and things like that. Things have carburetors, small bikes. I know most things are going fuel injection and they're getting way complicated. I saw a little kid's quad bike the other day that's got fuel injection and it had a problem. It turned out to be the map sensor, and it's like, that problem would never have existed if they've still built the quad bike with a carburetor. It's just more, it's what NASA say, the more components that you put on a vehicle, the more complex that you make it, the more unreliable it becomes, or the more chance of failure can occur. And that we see that now on modern cars. Modern cars nowadays are nowhere near as reliable as cars from, say, 20, 30 years ago. And that's a fact. There was a survey done. Modern cars break down more often or have more problems than older cars because there's more stuff to go wrong, right? I remember years ago, I was working at a Firestone and this guy pulls up in this posh, I don't know, BMW or a Mercedes or something. And I was busy doing a warrant or fitting tyres. I was, I was pretty flat out. And he comes into the workshop, in his suit and tie and stuff. He says, "Oh, can you give me a hand docking my phone to my car, please?" I'm like, "What?" He says, "I can't get my iPhone to to talk to my car. Can you come and sort it out, please?" And I'm like, no, 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 I don't do that kind of stuff. You're probably better off going down to an IT specialist to do that. I said, "I'll happily replace your brakes for you on your car, but I'm not doing that kind of stuff." And he was quite disgruntled, and off he went. But no, I mean, I was covered in grease and oil, and my hands were dirty, and I was busy doing some other stuff. I wasn't going to get in his nice posh car and try and work out, I had no experience on making that work. Read your manual, mate. If you've got a problem, go back to BMW with it. Or get a new phone. It might be a phone problem, mightn't it? Who knows? Now then, JJ. Google suggests wire EDM, electrical discharge, machining stroke spark erosion, to cut your tungsten carbide slugs. Right. Interesting. I will take a picture of that. Because, we haven't really got to that point yet, so it'd be quite helpful to have that. I haven't even Googled it. There we go. It's in my phone. Thank you for that, JJ. Simon, funny thing is, pop a carb on injection, it will run, but not vice versa. Yeah. Right, cold coffee. Oh, that really is cold. Okay, last cigarette. Sorry, there's no pie today. I've eaten all the pies. There's no pies. Last cigarette, and then we'll call it a day. Because Andy's got shit to do. Okay, so this next week, pretty boring. Just doing admin work at home. And now you might think, well, that is boring, Andy. Basically, I've finished what I call the first round of visits that I have to do with all the motorcycle shops. I do 2 rounds a year now. Used to be 4 when I first started, but that's just impossible. Never actually succeeded in completing 4 full rounds in any year that I've done this job. And admin work now is way more than it ever used to be. So we've been, thinning it out a little bit, which is a bit of a shame because I enjoy the visits. It's very important for me to have that face-to-face contact with the technicians and the service managers and the dealer principals, because service is a very important part of a motorcycle shop. In fact, the workshop should be the main money-earning profit center, for any motorcycle shop, really. It isn't in some cases, but it should be. And it should have all the equipment and training for the techs that they need, but they don't get that either, which is a bit of a shame, to be honest. The investment in people here in New Zealand is pretty slack, and which means it all sort of falls back on those that know. And I mean, I don't know everything, and I don't get a lot of training either. I could do with a lot more training. There's a lot of stuff out there which a few days of training would make my life a lot easier, especially before the model came out, to be fair, rather than post-launch, which is a bit of a pain. But anyway, that's just the way it is. Where was I going with this? I don't know. I've completely forgotten now. Yes, so admin work next week. And then, like I said, I've got Saturday off in the workshop doing stuff. Sunday morning, I'll have a lie-in, probably do some editing on, before I leave for Auckland. I won't be in the workshop on the Sunday. There's no point. I'll only get a few hours. And it takes half an hour to pull all the bikes out anyway. Another half an hour to put them all back again. And then I'm in Sydney for the whole week. I might do a live stream from Sydney. When I'm bound to get a few hours off, I'll take one of my shirts, I'll take my cap, and I can give you hopefully a bit of an update over in Sydney on how things are going. That would be nice, wouldn't it? A live stream from Australia. And then I get home about lunchtime Saturday, so I won't be in the workshop Saturday afternoon. We'll just watch a movie and stuff probably, or maybe edit a video. I don't know. We'll see. I'll do a bit more editing. I did edit one video while I was away. 12 hours I spent editing that video. Not all in one stint, but it took me overall 12 hours to edit it. It's a monster video. But hey, you know, it's for the future. I'm sure you'll enjoy it at some point. And then the Sunday back in the workshop, which would be nice. So that's my 2 weeks coming up. So pretty simple, really, to cover. A few more comments. Roger Heaps. I have a chainsaw with fuel injection. You are joking me. They've made a chainsaw fuel injection now. Holy crap. What is the world coming to? Just overcomplicating things for the sake of it. JJ, tip of the day. Get a cheap microwave to reheat your old coffee in the workshop. Yeah, that would be a good idea. It would. Because my coffees always get cold. John Nuttall. When you're in Queenstown, where do you stay hotel-wise? Well, there's a few, actually. It depends on availability, to be fair, because Queenstown gets pretty booked up pretty quick certain times of the year. But the Ridges is a nice spot. The Novotel is I like the Novotel. They do your parking for you at Novotel. That's good. And it's a bit closer to the town centre, a bit closer to the pubs, which is good. Or sometimes I end up in more of the motel type places, which, to be fair, they struggle for parking. I went to one. It was the trip before Christmas in the South Island, and the car park they had was too low for the ute to get in, so they had no parking for me. So I contacted the travel agent and said, look, this isn't going to work. I need secure parking for the ute because it's got all my tools in it, and they found me somewhere else, which was nice. But yeah, usually the Ridges or the Novotel, they're the two main ones that I will stay at, unless the budget's down and I have to go and, or they're fully booked and I have to go and slum it somewhere. I've stayed in quite a few motels in Queenstown as well. They're all right, but they're nowhere near as nice. And they're almost as expensive. There's not much difference in price. You're talking like another 30, 40 bucks, and you can have a nice hotel room compared to a pretty crappy motel, to be honest. Some of them are not good. Simon, is that mechanical injection on the chainsaw? Ooh, I think it would be electronic, right? But, I mean, they're not going to do mechanical these days. John Nuttall, try the Sherwood. It is a big car park, I'm told. The Sherwood, I've not stayed there. Another photo to go in the phone. Bear with me. The Sherwood, I'll check it out. Because I do have some, I can sort of request. That's not a problem. It also depends whether or not the hotel is on the corporate travellers list of preferred accommodation places. If it's missing, I can usually get it put on, and I have had places taken off that list as well because they've been crap. So it's sort of a work in progress list, and they're always very grateful for feedback. I try not to slate people too much, but I also do take photos sometimes and feed that back to corporate travellers to prove what I'm saying is justified. They might think I'm a bit of a whinger, but I'm not. I'm just trying to make things better for other people in the future, and myself, to be fair. Jim Haynes, when my feet stick to the carpet, it's time to move to a different place as far as motels. Yeah, that's some of the problem, to be honest. Some of them are not very well cleaned, and especially in Queenstown and other major cities around New Zealand now, the hotels struggle for staff. They struggle for cleaners. There was one hotel that actually shut down a number of the rooms and just didn't rent them out because they didn't have the cleaning staff. And I mean, that's ludicrous. They're still paying all the overheads for the building and all that kind of stuff. They just couldn't get the staff or enough staff to do the rooms, and it's just that's just mind-blowing. Roger, a still 500i. It's awesome. Haven't had any trouble, so haven't looked into it. I guarantee Simon's going to be Googling some kind of service manual or schematic for that saw now to work out whether it's electronic fuel injection or mechanical. So I think Mrs. Mechanic will still be in bed because I've not heard any banging around outside. I've not heard the kettle go on, which normally happens when she gets up. So the first thing she does is have a cup of tea. So today my plan is to pull the MIG out and to weld up that pulley, get it slapped in the lathe, machine it back so that new bearing can be put in. I'm tempted to put to make a bush as well to go at the other end of the pulley, just to give it more support, and to hopefully get the big pillar drill up and running again, because I don't like using Priscilla for lots and lots of heavy work. It's not good on it. I did some pretty heavy drilling with it the other day, making that aluminium sleeve. I had to take out the center with a hole saw. It did it, but you could tell it wasn't over happy, to be honest. I am. It's electronic. I knew it. Good job, Simon. John Nuttall, hit the like button and have a nice day all. Thank you very much, John. And the same from me. This is the end of the live stream. We've made it through in a freezing cold workshop. My knees practically on the heater trying to keep warm. I'm starting to shiver, so it's time for a nice hot cup of coffee. I will see you all again, maybe in a video that's going to be released shortly, and most definitely in a couple of weeks' time for the next live stream after I've been to Sydney. I might see you in Sydney. Who knows? We'll see. I will take my tripod with me and we'll see what we can organise. Okay, crew, be good, be safe, and above all, have a great time. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Over and out.